What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here, back with JaboctheGreat. We are back once again with the last word. As you can see by the title, this episode is going to be an NFL early season review. We're just over 1/3 of the way through the season with week 7 coming up. And we figured now would be a good time to kind of see where things stand, look back on our season previews. Uh, so, what teams surprised us, what teams kind of disappointed us, that whole thing. So, let's just start in the AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs, of course. Once again, they're at that number one spot, 5-1. Certainly not the most impressive Chiefs team that we've seen so far. I mean, obviously, if they're 5-1, they have been playing pretty well, but not the standard that we've expected so far with the Chiefs. But I think as the season kind of goes on, they just traded for McCole Hardman again, so getting a little bit more familiarity in that wide receiver room, I think they'll improve and we'll see some better performances from them going forward as the season progresses. Whereas the AFC West is once again kind of disappointing. I mean, Broncos 1-5, Chargers just lost to the Cowboys on Monday. The Raiders, surprisingly, they're the best team right now outside of Kansas City at 3-3. So it seems like once again this Chiefs team is going to dominate the West and run away with this division.
Yeah, not the most impressive season for them so far, but things do look to get better, and they have a division that's going to probably give them 4 to 6 free wins each season or this season. So it's a nice boost for them. Going from there, we'll get to the Dolphins, the current 2 seed in the AFC East. It looks kind of like we thought it would look, just maybe not for the exact same reasons. The Dolphins currently up there at 5-1, have had a pretty high flying season. Bills are also in the playoff picture at 4-2, the 5th seed. Had a weird season for them. I would say that the Bills are maybe a little disappointing despite their good performance or good record because of the way they've performed to get there. But they had a huge win against the Dolphins, so that's a big one for them. The rest of that division, Patriots, not great. 1-5. Nothing about that team is moving me right now. They just look lost. But the Jets, without Aaron Rodgers, are 3-3. Zach Wilson has pulled off some pretty good wins so far. They've also taken some pretty rough losses. Still, it looks to be a tough division. I'm not sure that we'll get 3 teams out of that division into the playoffs. But the Dolphins and Bills definitely have some challenges in front of them to get to where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, once the Aaron Rodgers thing happened, it was like, okay, we talked about this after we did our Bills Jets game review. It's going to be relying on that defense. They're going to have to run the ball, and Zach Wilson just can't. They can't put the ball in his hand, expect him to go out there and win it, but don't make any mistakes. And they at least, that game against the Eagles, we talked about it. He didn't really make any mistakes. They were able to come out with the win, playing great defense against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. But yeah, I don't really see them make. Probably not. They're not going to make the playoffs at this point. I don't think. I know if Aaron comes back, which it seems like it is a possibility now. I don't know, but if Aaron does come back and they're on the fringe, then I might, okay, maybe see how well he does. But yeah, right now I think our predictions pretty much stayed true. Dolphins, Bills at the top. The only thing is I don't think we predicted that the Patriots would be literally one of the worst teams in the league this year. Not just record wise, but point differential at -80. I'm pretty sure that is either the worst or second worst in the league right now, next to the Giants. So, yeah, a little surprising there, but overall not too surprising as far as the AFC East goes. They moved to the AFC North with the Ravens leading that division right now. They are number 3 in the AFC. Then you also got the Steelers and the Browns currently in the playoffs at 6-7. So, only team outside would be the Bengals, which I'd say that was probably the biggest surprise there. We both predicted that the Bengals would be right up there with the Ravens. And even though right now they're literally just, one more loss than the Browns and Steelers because they haven't had a bye yet, like the Steelers and Browns did. Still a little surprising to see. Of course, the injury to Joe Burrow and some of their other issues been pretty clear, but I think they're back on the up and up as well. So, yeah, this one's definitely not. This division is not over by any means.
Yeah, this is always one of the more competitive divisions, mainly because of how well they play against each other every year. And we've already seen that with some of those divisional matchups so far. I think our predictions will probably hold off and the Ravens can survive, but they've had a rocky season, and They've got a tough, scrappy division with the Bengals getting it back together. The Browns defense being one of the best in football right now, and the Steelers having the Mike Tomlin blessing of somehow managing to have a positive season. So yeah, this one is not over by any means. So going from there, the Jaguars at the 4 seed right now, leading the AFC South 4-2. We predicted that the Jaguars would run away with this division, and they're winning, but it's actually not quite happening. The Colts and Texans have been scrappy this season. They're both 3-3. The Texans have a win over the Jaguars. The Colts unfortunately have lost twice to the Jaguars already, so that's not great for them. The Titans actually are the ones who are struggling, kind of flailing around at the bottom, trying to figure out how to play football. But this is a scrappy division. I don't think the Titans are going to make many waves. I'm not sure the Texans or Colts are going to be, an actual scary playoff contender. None of them are in those spots right now, but they are 8-9. So the Texans and Colts are right below them, partially because the Steelers and Browns had the bye, right? So they didn't have a chance to lose a third game and see how the standings would shake up there. But the Jaguars are a good team for sure. This season so soon to be the Texans and maybe the Colts. Colts did just lose Anthony Richardson though. So we'll see where this goes. I think that by the end of the season, we will still be correct. I think the Jaguars will be winning this division. But it'd be interesting to see if CJ Stroud and the Texans could make a little push to try to get a 7th seed or something. So could happen.
I agree with that last assessment. I think, it could be possible. We don't really, it's only been 6 games. We don't know how good the Texans will be going forward, but I mean, it's possible they can, with how well CJ's playing, they can make a little push. Anthony Richardson, big blow for the Colts. I'm sure Gardner can keep them afloat, but as far as winning the division, right now, like you said, it's the Jags' division to lose, and I don't think that'll change. And really, when you go beyond the playoff picture, the teams that are in right now, I'd say the best teams that have a chance to kind of move up, if the Chargers can somehow figure out how to, actually play pass defense, and the offense gets back on track. The Bengals, they can. I think they'll be on the up and up again, like I said, and possibly again the Texans. Depends on how they play. I just don't really see the rest of these teams playing consistently enough to move up and make a playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look past who's currently in the playoff picture, those are probably the Texans and Bengals and Chargers are the biggest three that ask me that they maybe could get up there. The Raiders, if they keep playing well, could possibly make a splash, but I'm not as confident in their consistency. They've got some injury issues going on too, so I don't know. I don't really expect to count out Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase from making a playoff spot, but they do currently have to fight against all three of their other teams in their division who are sitting in the playoff picture right now. So that'll be interesting. But I think, yeah, those are the Texans, Bengals, and Chargers, not necessarily in that order. The three teams I think have a chance to get in there for the AFC. The Titans, Patriots, Broncos are probably all dead by this point. And then the Jets could be scrappy at the end, but I'm not super confident in them either. Going from there, we'll get to the NFC West, starting with the 49ers, who are the number 1 seed in the NFC. We talked about it last week. Eagles and Niners both dropped a game, so they both sit at 5-1. 3 5-1 teams in the NFC, actually. Niners have a pretty strong division as usual. They look good. I think they'll still end up winning this division. They're really good on all facets of the football game. But the Seahawks have been playing well. They've have had a pretty good season with Geno and their new offensive weapons and their old ones as well. Their defense has looked a little better than usual, so they've done pretty well. Rams are getting healthy, getting it back together. We saw Puka Nacua kind of fall off a little bit, but that's because Cooper Kupp has come back in. They did just lose Kyron Williams, so we'll see how their running game looks after that. But the Rams have looked good. They're a scrappy team. Cardinals, unfortunately, not so much. Kyler Murray has just come back from IR. I'm not sure if him or Josh Dobbs would make much of a difference with the way that team looks right now. So I think this is a good, fun division to watch. This could easily have 3 playoff spots with the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams. But I think it would possibly be in that order, and I would not count on the Cardinals to come back up for that one.
Yeah, I mean, the record isn't really surprising. They have been in some of these games. They're not getting absolutely destroyed every game, like a lot of people probably predicted. But record-wise, not too surprising. Seahawks, I think Seahawks again will probably be around like 6 or 7, something like that at the end of the season, more likely than not. So good team, just not top tier. Rams, I have no idea what the Rams are going to do week to week, so that one's a little hard to predict. But yeah, I'd still agree. Niners should take this division. and be a 1 or 2 seed, along with either the Eagles or the Lions. Starting with the Eagles, they lead the East right now. Of course, you mentioned they just dropped their first game against the Jets. They've Again, they haven't really played to that top tier level too much this season. We've seen little glimpses of it, but they haven't been that team just yet. I think they will again. It's very early in the season. They'll start to pick it up, and Jalen Hurts, obviously, I think he'll start to pick it up as well. Um, but outside of that, the East, Cowboys, of course, I think they'll finish second, and they'll probably be the 5th seed, I would assume. Then they'll have to go on the road again to one of these teams if they win in the wild card round. Commanders, I think they could finish, with around 8, 9 wins. I don't think that'll be a playoff spot for them. And then Giants, of course, they are um, bad to say the least.
Yeah, this one is a competitive division. Eagles and Cowboys are definitely they stand out as the two teams that could possibly be the division winners. Cowboys could steal it from the Eagles, but both of them have had some shaky performances this season. Um, the Commanders again look scrappy. They could fight up and steal the 7th seed or something. They or play spoiler to the high hopes of maybe the Eagles or Cowboys if they add one too many losses to their record. But the Giants are. They're not who we thought they were. That's for sure. I thought they'd be better than this. This was one of those that definitely stands out as a surprise this season, as they've all fallen to 1-5 pretty unceremoniously. With Tyrod Taylor, they actually almost did enough to beat the Bills, but couldn't quite get there. So took another primetime loss for them. By the way, this season this is ridiculous. Um, but yeah, this is a division where I think the top 2 teams could maybe flip around. It depends on how consistent the Cowboys decide to play football, and if the Eagles can kind of get back to where we saw them last year, or if they keep being this kind of weird, good team but not playing like the best team area that they're in right now. So yeah, from there we'll go to the Lions in the NFC North. They are also 5-1, sitting third in the NFC right now. They have had a pretty good season. Started their season with a win against the Chiefs. Yes, the Chiefs are missing some players, but it's still a good win for them. They, as far as their division goes, are probably the only person in that division who's going to make anything move. When you look down below the playoff picture, the Packers, Vikings, and Bears are all back to back to back at 2-3, 2-4, and 1-5. Vikings are missing Justin Jefferson for a little while. They could potentially fight back up and maybe get a lower playoff seed, but I don't think they have any hopes of winning that division. The Lions are playing really good football on both sides of the ball. The Packers started looking pretty good. Jordan Love had a great win against the Bears, and they've really fallen off as far as consistency goes. Took a loss to the Raiders. Just hasn't been a great season for the Packers. I don't see them making many moves with Jordan. And the Bears are not winless. They did get a huge win over the Commanders, but I think that was not necessarily signs of things to go or things to come. And this is probably how this division is going to look. You could maybe say the Vikings would get over the Packers. I think that's a fair assessment. But the Lions should actually hold up and be a top-tier team in the NFC. And they're a good team, playing good defense, playing good offense, and they're going to be a little boosted by somewhat weak division this year.
Yeah, when we did our season preview, I figured the Vikings and Lions would be at the top. Lions are obviously there, but I didn't think that any team, I figured it would be, like 10 win kind of situation for a team that wins this division. But the Lions probably can eclipse that pretty well if they keep playing this way. They're already at 5, so they've been playing exceptional. The rest of the division is surprising and disappointing to me. Packers, I know first year of Jordan Love, they've had turnover on their roster, injuries. They just haven't been that good really outside of the 2 games they won. Vikings this year seems like the curse of the, you know, winning every single 1-score game last year has flipped on them. Now they're pretty much losing all their games by 1 score. So they could easily be a lot better, but you are what you are. You're 2-4 right now. I doubt they're really going anywhere after this. And then the Bears, I figured, again, they did have the number 1 pick last year for a reason, but getting offensive weapons, improving on both sides of the ball. They took our best receiver in DJ Moore. I figured they would be a lot better than 1-5 right now, and they're right there with the Panthers as well. So I mean, Yeah, the NFC North is the only division I'm saying that is just completely over right now. I think it's done. Lions got that one wrapped up. As we move to the NFC South, which I would say is probably the worst division in football right now. It seems like it is every year now, or at least every few years. Bucks lead that. They're the 4 seed. They're 3-2, and the rest of the teams you got 3-3, 3-3, and 0-6 for the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers. So nothing too impressive here for anybody. I'm more surprised with the Bucks, the fact that they're 3-2. They have had a bye, haven't played as many games as everybody else, but even that game against the Lions, they just played, not a good game for them. So yeah, the South is gonna have probably one team, I would say, and whoever that one team is, they're gonna win the division, probably with like 9 wins again, and then get bounced by whoever the 5 seed is, probably the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. Obviously, the Buccaneers have had the best season in the NFC South so far. Some of that boosted from the bye. They haven't had the most impressive season. They've played well against some good teams. Started their season with a win against the Vikings. That week to week has looked not as impressive because of the way the Vikings have played. But I mean, it was a good win. It was a fully healthy Vikings team at that point as well. The Saints could get up there and steal that spot. I think it's really a race between the Saints and the Buccaneers, which is funny because the Falcons currently set above the Saints. But I don't trust Desmond Ridder when he's not in Atlanta. And I mean, you end up, you can only do so much to not be in Atlanta for the whole season. You can only do so many games away and still make the playoffs. So I think the Saints have a better chance to get up there. The Panthers, man, oh man, we knew it would be a transitional season. Very much fresh coaching staff, a lot of new people there, new quarterback, and some new weapons. And there's signs of hope. Adam Thielen and Bryce Young have got a decent connection going on. There's not a good enough O-line. There's not a good enough deep threat. The running game really can't get going. Miles Sanders, without the Eagles O-line, has been less than good. Chuba Hubbard has been better, but not great. And the defense keeps getting either exhausted from being in the field all game or injured. So another year of watching Dante Jackson and CJ Henderson get torched, and an 06 start marks the worst start for the Panthers since the 90s. Not a great one. They, out of pretty much any other team we've talked about, I know that I've said the Patriots, Broncos, and Cardinals are probably all dead. The Panthers have been scrappy with some teams, but starting 06, even if you start winning some games, this one's probably over. They're just want to look to next season.
I think the NFC, AFC would probably have a little bit more movement, but yeah, NFC I think probably kind of set with how things are. I mean, obviously, since the Falcons and Saints are so close to the Bucks, that can change pretty easily. Falcons and Bucks, I think, play this week, so that can change real fast. Saints play tonight as well, so that can have some movement. But outside of that, yeah, I don't really think there's going to be much going on here. I think we kind of know, even in this early part of the season, we kind of know what teams are for real and what teams aren't really there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about when you think about how many teams in the AFC are scrappy, right? I mean, the Colts, Texans, Jets, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers, all those have got like a little fire of hope under them. You got the NFC, you got the Commanders, Falcons, and Saints, and that's like Packers, Vikings, Bears, Giants, Cardinals, Panthers are all contenders for one of the worst teams in the league this season. Maybe not the Vikings; they just had unfortunate losses. But yeah, I think this one is a lot more set in stone by how it is now. We'll see some movement with the NFC East and NFC South, but I'm not very confident that any of these teams below the cloud picture are going to make a big push this year.